Hey everybody, good morning from Austin. Hope everyone's doing well out there. We're doing well and holding up. It's the South by Southwest Music Conference here in Austin. It's Saturday, so this is the last day of music, and it's been a busy week for sure. Um, but I'm actually making this video because Heather just joined as a patron, and she emailed me some really great questions, and we were going back and forth on email on the questions, and she had a really awesome follow-up question that I thought was pertinent to maybe where some other folks on here are. So I thought I would just answer it here. Um, we were talking about using, oh, and also Jim had asked about some octave substitution things in mbira music. So that's what this is about. Specifically, they were both asking when to use octave substitutions or fifth substitutions in mbira music, maybe a little bit more from an aesthetic angle. Heather made a really good point that she said, you know, a lot of people just kind of say, well, just learn how to be able to do it and then do it in all your songs and then just play and see how it goes. And, you know, it's kind of a loose, open answer. And she was wanting maybe some more specifics about when it's appropriate to use that. So I was thinking about that, and it made me think that I got my little notes here of the things I want to talk about. So a concept that I really like is in learning, when we learn anything, there's 4 stages of that learning. Some of you may have heard this. So the first stage is called unconscious incompetence, which, you know, the definition of the word competence is just the ability to do something correctly, right? So if as an mbira player, you want to do something correctly, that's, you know, as determined by other mbira players that you're playing with. So if you think about, I'm sure you all have seen this, if someone sees your mbira and they've never seen one before and they pick it up and they just, you know, maybe they're playing it with the tops of their fingers or holding it upside down or whatever and just kind of making noise, and they're happy doing it and they like how it sounds, but you as an mbira player see it and you know that, you know, they're making noises on the instrument but they're not actually playing the mbira. So that's unconscious incompetence. They don't know, they're unconscious about what they're supposed to be doing, and they're incompetent, they're not able to do it, right? So the first stage of any learning is unconscious incompetence. And then that moves the next stage into conscious incompetence. So now that person who's new on the mbira sees you play, and so they see this is how the thing is really played. And, you know, so now they know that they are unable to do this, right? They are now conscious incompetence. Then the following stage is conscious competence. So now you work hard, you do deliberate practice, you learn a song, you're able to play the song. You know, that step from 2 to 3 is the most difficult, maybe, or most time consuming. No, let me just scratch that whole thing. That step from 2 to 3 takes a long time. And now you can competently play a song and you know you're playing it correctly, right? You're thinking about what you're doing, you're playing. And then the final step is unconscious competence. You're able to play it, you're a master now. You can play this music, you don't think about it, it's just in your bones, right? You are unconsciously able to do what you need to do, you know, and we all strive for that final thing. But that step between conscious incompetence, the second step, and conscious competence, the third step, is it's a long one. It's a struggle, it's a journey, it's fun, it's beautiful, it's horrible, it's all those things, but that's the step of going from, that's the deliberate practice step. And I'm actually not going to get into a whole video of what deliberate practice is now. I recommend Googling it. I'm sure we'll get into that here, but I don't want to do that now because I want to answer this specific question. So what Heather was saying was, hey, when can I do these octave substitutions? Other people, just tell me to just do it whenever you want and listen. She mentioned that part of what's been going on for her is she'll do that, but then she'll find that she's just kind of copying what she hears other people do. And so here's the thing. You're in that position now of going from unconscious competence to conscious competence. You're trying to work out when you should be doing those things. And so what's the answer? The answer is, the way to learn anything is you take the song you do those octave substitutions, even if they're not aesthetically, even what Heather is wanting to do, or other people are wanting to do, is they're wanting to jump to that playing a beautiful aesthetic thing, which in order to do that, you need to be able to play it consciously and competent. You need to be able to do those variations anywhere on the mbira at any time, so that then you can free your mind up to be able to be listening while you're playing and listening for melody lines that you're wanting to create. So some like real specific things are like the bass line is generally an ascending bass line. So if you're playing on the mbira and you want to do an octave substitution from that upper left low note to the lowest bass note on the mbira, you want to think of that lowest bass note on the mbira as being the beginning of an ascending bass line. So you're playing, you hit that note, and then in your mind you think, okay, I've started this melody line, how can I ascend it? So when you get to that next note that's going to ascend and you do your octave substitution, you're consciously aware that you're creating an ascending bass line. And it doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing right now. All you're doing is you're building these building blocks of understanding of how the mbira moves, and then what you mentioned about copying other players is perfect. That is absolutely perfectly a valid thing to do, because by doing that, you're incorporating something that someone else has aesthetically decided works for them, and you're doing it. So now you're creating a musical, artistic thing, even if it's not your own, and you're just hearing another angle of how that mbira song can work. So I think that is a really valid way of learning how to do those octave substitutions, is by learning lots of variations. Because once you've learned lots and lots and lots of variations for one song, you'll start to see how those same variations can be applied in other songs. So that ascending line you're using in Nemam Sasa, all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, if I start a fifth lower on Maharoro, I can do that same ascending line and it will work. So don't feel bad about the idea of copying other mbira players' lines. That's just part of the arsenal. What is that quote? It was like, good musicians borrow, great musicians steal, or something like that. It's like, that's what it's all about. Is like, you're taking all this, and then you're gonna just incorporate it over time. And just remember that the time that's sitting there playing the mbira, that's the journey, right? And that really is what it's all about. It's not about being a great player in every moment of it. It's about exploring what this little mbira has to offer. I'm gonna ask for Kefit, who's filming. Do you think I answered that question appropriately? Or is there anything else that you would recommend I touch on?
Yeah, no, I think that you answered it well, and I think it's just being patient with ourselves. We're usually our harshest critics, and like, why aren't we there yet? Or we should be able to do this. And the part about copying other people's the way that other people play and learning those variations is really important, because then you do end up seeing how it all ties together. So I would just say, be kind and compassionate to yourself and keep playing.
Good advice. All right, so hopefully that answered. Feel free to post in the comments if there's any more clarification, or maybe this brings up more questions. All right, love you guys. Talk to you later.